Jesus modeled a servant style of leadership. He never waited for others to get it right before making the first move. And I want to tell you today, leaders don't wait to be pursued. They work hard to pursue connections with others. You know, pride rarely comes out and just says, "Hey, I'm prideful." That's not the way it works. Pride actually shows up in sort of a sneaky way, like the silent treatment, or the cold shoulder, or the need to always be right, or holding on to what they should have done, sort of an unforgiveness. And every time we choose pride, we actually put another brick in that wall of separation in our relationships. And let me ask you this, just like that older brother, who are you quietly punishing with your silence? Here's another way to put that question. Are you standing outside of a relationship, waiting for somebody else to fix it first? Proverbs 16:18-19 says, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud." I want you to think about that. Pride feels safe in the moment, but in the long run, it just isolates us. Humility is absolutely the better way. But what does humility actually look like? Humility, here's what humility does. Humility makes the first move. Humility doesn't stand outside the house waiting on someone else to make the move. Humility goes to the person and says, "Let's talk this out." Humility says, "Hey, I value this relationship much more than being right." Humility builds the bridge that pride keeps tearing down. And I want you to answer this question in your own private time, or you could even pause this and answer it now. How is pride showing up in my relationships? I want you to be honest. Might be something small, but small things eventually build big walls. How is pride showing up in your relationships? And you have to understand that many times pride is really subtle, and a lot of times it can even feel justified. But at the end of the day, pride, no matter the reason, the fact is that pride builds walls and humility builds bridges. And reconnection always starts with your humility, always. So pride is a wall that we choose to build. But what about this next relational barrier? This next one is often a wall that we didn't necessarily mean to build, but maybe it was a hurt that was never healed. And so this next one, past wounds, these are hurts that still try to write our stories, and they quietly shape our relationships even today. And so let me tell you this. Wounded leaders create wounded cultures, unfortunately. And if you're leading people while carrying unhealed, especially those deep unhealed hurts, it's amazing how you're going to start projecting that hurt onto your team in some form or fashion, on your church, on your decision-making, in your family. And so for this relational barrier, past wounds, let's go to Genesis chapter 50. Joseph is standing in front of his brothers, the very ones who betrayed him, and they lied to their father. They literally sold him as a slave. They wrote him off for dead. And now, here they are, years later, needing Joseph's help. And he has the power. He has the upper hand on them. And if Joseph was like most of us, like me, he would have every reason to use that moment for payback. I'm going to make them pay. And Joseph had all the power he needed to do that, do just that, to punish them in this circumstance. But I want you to listen to his words, Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. "But as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good." And I think it's so important to point out that Joseph didn't ignore the wound. He was fully aware of what they had done to him, and he acknowledged it, but he refused to let it define the relationship that they would all have in the future. And here's reality. I don't know what type of counseling work Joseph had to do to get to that place, but here's reality. If you don't figure out how to deal with your wounds, guess what? Those wounds will deal with you. Because if we have unhealed wounds within us, the problem is that those wounds don't just stay quiet. And it's crazy how those things will sometimes bleed into other conversations in our lives. And unfortunately, sometimes those wounds will sort of twist how we hear people. Somebody may say one little small thing, but you react through the lens of that relational wound. And we all know people are really, really sensitive and get their feelings hurt. We know people like that over every little interaction. Those people truly do need deep counseling to overcome those deep hurts. But I'm really talking more about the common person. We too have these little things that sneak up in our interaction. For me, my issues revolve around rejection. That's a wound for me that I've worked really hard on for many years, and I'm still working on it. But just like that, the connection with another person can easily get hijacked by the past, by our past wounds. And, wounds are sneaky. They aren't always obvious. Sometimes they show up in like overtime and just little interactions or overreactions, or maybe our emotions get heightened on us too quickly, like anger, or maybe it's sadness or some other emotion that's over-exaggerated. Or maybe they just show up as assumptions. We assume we know what that other person was thinking, and it really wasn't that at all. Or it could be a large list of ways that our wounds could show up. But here's the issue. Many times, the person in front of you isn't the real problem in the situation. Many times, the real problem is the wound that you've been carrying around. And here's what I've learned. If you don't work through your pain, you'll lead through your pain. And that's how cycles of unhealthy culture begins in churches and teams. And when you're the one observing this, it is so hard to tell someone that they're responding out of their hurt, right? It's so hard. But many times, we are the ones that are doing that. And nobody around us wants to tell us. And the only reason that I can tell you this today is because we've got a screen between us. And I'm not singling anyone out here. I'm not singling you out. But if I were to call someone's name right now, a specific name, oh my, these wounds are so sensitive. They hurt. They're challenging. So let me ask you this. I want you to dig deep now. Take away the pride and ask yourself this. What wound in your life could possibly still shape the way that you see people? Is there a relationship today that's suffering because of the hurt that you've never dealt with? You have to understand that unhealed wounds can absolutely create invisible walls and barriers to relationships. You may not see them, but you'll feel the distance that they create. And this could be something from your childhood, could be a family hurt, could be a church hurt, could be a friendship that broke trust with you. And here's the deal. You have to be real with yourself. And you have to ask yourself if there are any unresolved wounds that are creating a wall or a barrier in your current relationships. And here's what I want you to remember. If you don't deal with your wounds, they will absolutely deal with you eventually. But trust me here, healing is possible for you. I've worked through so much stuff in my life, and I'm still working through those things. But it is possible. It is possible for you.